Is life truly better on Saturn? I don't know, babes, but I'm determined to find out. What's good, y'all? Welcome, Unukedu. It's the Siren, the Mermaid, the Witch, your favorite hot boy spiritualist, and we're here for another episode of the Toby Talk here at the Toby Network. So, for today's episode of the Toby Talk, what I'm going to be musing about is the concept of the Saturn return. Well, actually, it's not going to be about the concept of the Saturn return. We're basically just going to talk about my Saturn return because I'm in it now. And I'm finna be in it until like what, 2028. So this is gonna be interesting. So I'm part of the Saturn and Aries generation. Shout out to all my fellow Saturn and Aries beginner Gen Z people. Right? So I'm in the Saturn and Aries generation, and my Saturn return basically began like now, February 2026. Although, if we're going to be, accurate, my Saturn return began last year in 2025 for a little bit when Saturn went into Aries, but then it went back into Pisces, and the Saturn and Pisces people kind of finished theirs out, and now Saturn has officially left Pisces as of February 2026 and is going to be in Aries until 2028. So I'm in the bulk of my Saturn return in Aries now. And of course, this is in tropical astrology, because that's the system I'm using right now for this. Sidereal Vedic will say Saturn's entered into something else, but it's whichever one you use. Just calculate it avec. My Saturn is in Aries, and I'm officially in my Saturn return, and it's interesting. Now, I'm somebody where Saturnian themes have always been a big topic in my life because natally my Saturn is in my fourth house. So the house of the home, family, ancestry, even the mother, your environment, what makes you, you, etc. And to say it's been a hard knock life would be an understatement, right? I'm very grateful, okay? In many ways, I recognize and understand how I've been privileged, and I'm grateful for that. But in many other ways, it's been very disadvantaged. I'm not going to lie and say that everything was stable. No, I grew up in chaos. So I know how to thrive in chaos because I grew up in instability and chaos and woo. Like you talk about familial instability, marital instability, financial instability, you name it. I lived it. I lived it. Okay, so that's been a huge theme of my life. And as a spiritual person, it's been the concept of ancestral traumas and generational quote unquote curses, which are really just generational traumas, have been huge in my life. So with my Saturn being in my fourth house, I didn't really have a choice to enter into the spiritual life. I was kind of thrown in it, especially when we look at my eighth house and 12th house placements as well. My water houses were like, no, bitch, you're going to do this shit. So I'm doing it. And all that to say that I've been doing the work, doing the things in multiple different ways throughout my life. And as I grew older and became more spiritual, I was doing it with more intention. And I've been known about the concept of Saturn return for a while. So I did the research, I did everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they say Saturn return does this, because all across the internet you'll hear all sorts of doom and gloom stuff about your Saturn return. That's not to say that those things aren't true, they don't have merit, but come on now, we know everything is dualistic. But I also came across a lot of things that talked about, hey, if you're doing the work prior to your Saturn return, then Saturn will reward you because Saturn is about karma. Saturn is about discipline, diligence, hard work, but Saturn is also about rewards and blessings, and Saturn rewards those who put in the work. Okay, Big Daddy Saturn gives the things, to the girls who've been doing the things. Okay? So I told myself, I want to be one of those hoes that's doing the things so that Big Daddy Saturn can give me the things. Okay? Okay. So I've been doing a lot of work leading up to my Saturn return. And I'm not gonna lie, it's felt like I've been in an endless Saturn return for so much of my life. Woo. Right? So all that to say that even though this is my first time being in my Saturn return, those Saturnian themes are not new to me. So that's kind of like the context that I'm coming into with this Saturn return that I'm currently in. And I don't know about y'all. I don't know if some of y'all are entering into your Saturn return or if you've already exited your Saturn return. Kudos to y'all. But I feel very much ready because I've been doing the work, because I've been doing the shadow work, the ancestor work, the healing work, the ugly, unsexy work. I feel very much ready for this Saturn return. And it's not to say that there aren't things that don't make me anxious around it, because there are. But I know that Saturn cannot come and kill me. At the end of the day, Saturn cannot come and kill me. Saturn cannot come in my house. I don't care who Saturn is, be it planet, spirit, force, deity, and Saturn cannot come and kill me. Saturn cannot come and make me his bitch. That cannot be. Because I know who I am. I know the work I've been putting in for these 20 plus years of my life. And I know that every time I've encountered something that was supposed to kill me, I've lived. Maybe I crumbled, but I rebirthed myself. I survived. That's why if y'all hear me on either YouTube or TikTok, whatever, and I talk about, hey, let's not just survive, let's thrive, it's because I know how to survive. Abumibu. I'm Igbo. I'm Nigerian. I'm African. I'm black. Me and my people know how to survive. Okay? Survive colonization, slavery, genocides, instability politically. Like, we know how to survive. That's just ancestral memory. Okay, I know that. I've inherited that. It's time to thrive. That's how I see it. That's how my spirits see it. It's time to thrive because we know how to survive. So I know that this Saturn return, though I don't know exactly what it's going to bring, I've of course done some divinations to get a little sneak peek, but I don't know exactly what it's going to bring. But I know it can't kill me. It cannot. But that doesn't mean it won't be hard. That does not mean it won't be hard. Because when Saturn entered into Aries for the first time in 2025, oh, babes, I thought I was gonna be ready, and she fucked me up. I am not. Just the flashbacks of those months that Saturn was in Aries, I was like, I can't do this. I said, I can't come and do this again. I can't do it. It was crazy. It literally sent me into a spiral. Of course, on the outside, I didn't look like I was spiraling because I never have and never will look like what I've been through. I have a great poker face, but it sent me into a spiral. Now, with my Saturn being my fourth house, I thought it was going to be a lot of familial things. And that was one of the main things that I had been working on years leading up to my Saturn return, working on balancing family dynamics, being in community while having my own autonomy, finding stability in my familial relationships, standing up for myself, not being a people pleaser, charting my own path, not allowing myself to be exploited or bullied, having the hard conversations, which is hard, especially in an African immigrant household. Right? I was doing all that work. And of course, doing emotional work as well, ancestral healing, reclaiming my ancestral indigenous spirituality. I was doing all those work. So I thought that Saturn would throw things my way concerning that. And that's not to say that it won't and that it didn't, but that's what I really thought it was going to do. Instead, what it did was it shook up my complete internal stability. Like, I went through an experience that was definitely a lesson, one that was needed, but it was one that was hurtful. And it was something that happened more internally, more in my spiritual space with me and my spirits, to the point where I was like, I can't trust nobody but myself. I can only trust my chi. And even though that was a harsh experience, which I'm not going to go into detail with it here because it's none of y'all business. This is just an example. Even though that was a harsh experience to go through, it was definitely fourth house themed. And it was a reminder for me because I had to remind myself that yes, I exist within communities, both with human beings and with spirit. But at the end of the day, my foundation starts with me. It starts with my chi. And if I can't trust my intuition, if I can't trust my spirit, my chi, my soul 100%, if I don't believe that I don't have myself 100%, then I can't expect anybody living, non living, etc., to have me. And that was a big lesson that I had to relearn when Saturn first entered into Aries in tropical timing in 2025. Was a big lesson. Was a crazy lesson. Like I thought all my dreams were about to come true, yet something still felt off. My intuition was like, I don't know about this, but I'm like, no, all the signs are pointing towards this. It's supposed to work. But my intuition was like, but then I'm like, am I gaslighting myself? Or like, it was just a whole conundrum. And it ended up being what my intuition told me. And it ended up being false. Not the opportunity that I thought it was supposed to be, that I had wanted it to be, that it presented itself to be. And that was a sobering moment. It was a hurtful moment, but it was a very Saturnian moment. And it taught me that if I want to be where I want to be, if I want to have the things that I want, if I want to achieve the things that I want to achieve, lead my life in the way that I need to lead it, then I have to make sure that everything in my foundation is solid. Yes, familiar relationships, yes, community, all that stuff, but I have to make sure that I am solid because we are communities in and of ourselves. You have your body, you have your mind, you have your spirit, your soul. We are multidimensional beings, even if we're not looking at our relationships with our families, our communities, or our relationships with our ancestors and spirit guides. We just, as the single beings that we are, being multidimensional, we are a community in and of ourselves. And that I had to relearn on an even deeper level. So I had to get rid of everything. I said, baby, I'm pulling into myself. I said, yes, I love people, but I'm staying inside. I ain't doing all this extra stuff. Baby, I'm not going to my altars. I'm not doing it. Yeah! It's me and my chi. Making sure that we communicate and we got ourselves like this. That if I want a sign, bam, I got it. If I want something done, bam, I handle it. Whether it's physically or spiritually, I need to remember my own magic. I need to remember that I am the magic. I need to remember that not only am I the leader of the spiritual team, but I curated it. It was relearning sovereignty for me. And when we relearn sovereignty, we have greater accountability and trust in self. And we're able to make things happen for ourselves, which is something we have to understand because in life, you're only really going to be accountable for yourself, but also there are things that you can do and things that other people can do. And once you have that sovereignty and knowledge and trust in self, you have a better idea of the things that you can do and the things that you cannot do, the things that you are meant to do and the things that others are meant to do. Because no man is an island. It cannot rely on just one person alone. That's just not feasible. That's not possible. But we all have our part to do. And if we are not a strong pillar in ourselves, then we can't be a pillar in the building. And that is one thing that I had to learn when my Saturn return first gave me a little sneak peek in 2025. And because of that, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little stressed come 2026 about what this Saturn return was gonna bring again. Because I was like, hold up, whoa there. Whoa there. I already made up with my people. I went back to my altars. I went through the whole healing process and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. We can't do this again. I cannot do that again. And you can't trick me. You cannot trick me. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Right? But in preparation for my Saturn return this year, I had to remind myself that some lessons are harsh, you know. God is the net that catches you, but God is also going to be the hand that pushed you off the cliff. That's sober yourself, right? I had to understand that and understand, okay, what this lesson was teaching me. And if I want to go to the places that I'm destined to go to, I can't operate the way I did before. I can't. Especially in this world of smoke and mirrors and everyone trying to pull you away from yourself and convince you of all these things, whether they're using physical or spiritual means. I can't. I can't do that. So I understand the lesson. Not to be fooled by the smoke and mirrors, to really trust yourself. But there was still, of course, anxiety. But it was through that work and that diligence that I reminded myself that those things didn't kill me. They didn't break me. So whatever this Saturn return brings cannot come and kill me. Because even though the lesson was harsh back when Saturn first entered into Aries in 2025, I passed the test. I didn't fail. That's the thing. I passed. I did not fail. At the end, I trusted myself. At the end, I stood on my ground and I trusted myself. Despite the physical evidence that was being shown, I trusted myself and it was proven right. It was a hurtful experience, but I was right and I passed. So I took that knowledge, that strength to be like, you know what? If I can do it then, I can do it now. I can do it again if need be. And so with this Saturn return, now that I'm officially in it, I'm not afraid. I don't expect it to be all positive. I don't expect it to be all negative. I know I've been doing the work and I'm continuing to do the work, but I'm ready. I don't want to bother myself with everything that could come because then that's how we get anxious. But I know that I can handle it. And I'm making the changes. Hell, I'm back on YouTube. I haven't made since my Saturn return, I haven't made a post on YouTube since 2023? And I started this YouTube channel in 2020. This is 6 years later. And I'm back on YouTube and I'm like, you know what? I feel the drive to be consistent. So as long as I feel that drive, I'm going to do it. And the thing with Saturn and Aries wants to blaze through. But Saturn is like, no, do it again, do it the right way, do it properly. And I even feel like that's one thing Saturn is making me do with my creative projects because I'm not just working on YouTube. I'm working on a whole bunch of stuff. Check out my other projects. Head to the Poppy Watches Grotto Patreon. Head to the Poppy Watches Grotto podcast. And also stay tuned because there's more to come. And it hasn't been easy. I've been having to do things and redo things. And even with the Saturn return, there's been some unfavorable lessons that I've been learning with creativity. I've been forced in many ways to start from scratch with so many of my creative projects. Projects that I've been building for over 10 years for some of them. And my Saturn return has forced me to start from scratch through ways that I could not control. And of course, those were unfavorable lessons. They hurt. But I'm okay. And I'm not giving up. And if I got to do it again and do it the right way, I'm doing it. Like, I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right now. And I'm going to continue because I want what I want. I'm destined for what I'm destined for, and I'm going to get there. There are things that spirit's going to do. There are things that there are living people are going to do. But I have to do what I have to do in order for all of it to connect. That's the awareness that I'm embodying right now. And I just wanted to have this little chat about my Saturn return, how it's going so far. Not only to show y'all where I'm at, but I feel like this might inspire some of you who are going through your Saturn return right now, or who have yet to go through it. Sometimes I feel like I'm just rambling and just chatting shit. But people come back and be like, oh no, that actually gave me the information that I needed. That actually gave me the inspiration that I needed. So I'm just going to do that because everything I do is inspiring. I'm the siren, darling. Muse General. So I'm just going to share. And it'll inspire somebody. Somebody needs to hear this. Somebody. Perhaps it's you, darling. Probably is. But I'll just say, I'm in my Saturn return. I'm living life. I'm determined to live life well, but I'm also determined to continue to put in the work. I'm back here on YouTube. I'm making my dreams a reality. As a spiritual person, I know that there's some things that spirit can do, and there's only things that I can do. So I'm doing that co-creation process. But also, I know that I have to work with people. So I'm engaging in that, but being discerning at the same time. I know the journey's not linear. My journey's not been linear. Hell, if you've been following my YouTube page from the beginning and you've been following all my other stuff, you know my journey's definitely not been linear. Definitely not. But I'm here. And I'm committed. And that's really what Saturn asks of us. Commitment and consistency. Discipline and dedication. So Big Daddy Saturn, go ahead and get my present ready. Because I'm doing the thing. And I'm going to continue. I know my Saturn return is going to bring a lot of blessings. Because I've been doing the work. I've divined. I know what I know. I trust. But I know a lot of those blessings are going to come with new lessons. Some that I may not want to face, but I will face it head on. Because the only way out is through. And I always pass the test. I told you, 4.0 GPA. Straight A student. Summa cum laude graduate. I'm not lying when I say these things. You can check my pedigree. So, I'm gonna pass. And I'm gonna make it look sexy. So expect perhaps as the years go by, other Toby Talks on my Saturn return, what I've learned, insights, etc. Hopefully, right? Because I'm back on YouTube, but I don't know what next year is gonna look like. You know, my journey's not been linear, so baby, it's the tides. You gotta just roll with when the tides roll in and when it rolls out, baby. I'm the mermaid. I'm the siren. So just catch me when you catch me, baby. Okay. But I do want to give periodic updates for those of you all who are also in your Saturn return to help. And even maybe this could be a little bit of guidance. I don't know how it's going to look, but it could be guidance for those who have yet to enter into your Saturn return. That's all I have to say. For those of you who are in your Saturn return, just keep at it. Do the things, do the work, take care of yourself, rest, but be patient. Invest in yourself. Have grace. Be ready to change. We're on Earth, So in order to grow food, we got to get our hands dirty. We got to get sweaty. We got to put in work. So be prepared to do that. And if you are in my generation of Saturn and Aries, put a little comment in the comment section below. Let me know how it's going for you and what you're learning, because I know I can learn from you all's experience as well. If you're watching this and you've already been through your Saturn return, definitely put a comment down, because the girls, the boys, and the days, they need it. They need it. I'm included. I'm the girls, boys, and days myself. So please share with us. Share your knowledge. Share your wisdom. Share your wisdom. Please, people, give balanced things. Don't fearmonger, but don't over positize. Positize. Over make, glamorize, romanticize. You guys know what I'm saying. I beg, English is English. It doesn't matter. It's colonizer's tongue. Give the balanced. If yours is more on the positive, that's cool. If it's more on the shadow, that's cool. But let's give the balance, because everything's balanced. Nuances exist, right? And if you've yet to be in your Saturn return yet and you want to comment, that's cool. That's cool. But really take it as learning. The comment section. Let's see who comments. If people comment, I can't force you people to do what you don't want to do. But yeah. But all that to say, we got this. I know the world is changing right before our eyes, because not only has Saturn entered into Aries, but Neptune has entered into Aries, and the world is crashing and burning. But that's because she's rebirthing herself. So this is an interesting time for all of us. And according to the Astro Girlies, this time period is going to transform everybody, not just the Saturn and Aries people. So everybody be ready, but get excited, because a new world is being birthed out. But giving birth sometimes is painful. But the only way out is through. So keep up the good work, do the things, and have faith. But remember, faith without works is dead. So do what you gotta do. All right? That's it. Bye. Cade.